Okay, ladies, this is the first part of my particular contribution to this channel. And I decided to start with the base level, the ground level. Like with the men, the Ibmores, I started with the ground level. I started with the esoteric feminine so they could understand women. And then I worked up to understanding themselves. So I'm going to do the exact opposite with the ladies. I'm going to start with the esoteric masculine so you can get a good grounding of where you stand, where you are in an opposition to your other. And then we're going to work up, and I'm going to attempt to explain the feminine and how I think it relates to women, and at least the part that is hardly ever explained to women. Now, for the men, I explain the feminine in a certain way, the way I first understood it, or the way I first had my epiphany about the nature of women, which was the nest, which was this picture that I showed the men first in MGTOW, and then I showed it in the Ibmore. And I won't go through the whole thing about the esoteric feminine on this video. You can check my Ibmore channel or even my MGTOW channel and actually watch that particular video. I might put it in a link. But the symbol that I decided to use to, or the picture I decided to use to basically talk about the esoteric masculine will be a picture that's a little harder to understand. The nest you can kind of get a picture of or draw meaning from because everybody's familiar with a bird's nest and the chicks and whatnot. Whereas the masculine is a little harder to understand. And this picture here that you see is basically the magnetic resonance of an atom. This is actually what an atom looks like if you take it if you draw its lines of force. This is the building blocks of the physical universe. If you slice a magnet or anything magnetic down as far as you can get it, you will still get this picture. This is something that they notice even in the Hadron Collider. You take the smallest particle you can find and you smash it into bits, and guess what? You get a bunch of these. This is your basic building block, your basic shape of the universe. This is your esoteric masculine down to its bare essence. You look at this picture, you say, where's the, there's a duality. Where's the feminine in this picture? Good question. You see all that dark area around this particular picture? That is the feminine. Men are considered to be the light or the active part in the universe. It's much, much smaller than the feminine or the material that is acting upon. This is the light going into the vessel to start forming or building, creating the universe, one block at a time. The resonance or the magnetic resonance that exists in every particle of the universe, every physical particle of the universe, is just an idea or a resonance or movement against the actual material of the universe, which is the feminine. So therefore, the masculine always creates not through itself, but through the feminine. The feminine is the material that the masculine shapes and creates and makes the physical world. It's a difficult concept to wrap your head around, and it's going to take some thought and contemplation if you've never seen this or thought about this before. But it is the essential concept when you talk about creation and the division between masculine and feminine. Now that's the picture. Now we're going to get into the actual meat of what I'm talking about. So we're going to start at the beginning. This particular diagram I've used many, many, many times in esotericism because I am a Black Gnostic, and our particular belief comes from a blend of several Gnostic religions, but basically we derive our unter or our origin from Menphite theology. And this is the Menphite theology creation story from the very beginning. Now, in Menphite theology, in the very beginning, there was nothing or no form, no thing, not nothing, but no thing, where all the particles in the universe were uniform. Without movement, there's no light. Without any division, all female. The default state of the whole entire universe is female. But without the masculine, there is no duality. Without the masculine, there is no creation or even procreation. In the Kabbalah, they said that creation began with the thought, the idea. The idea of the masculine that saw itself separate from the feminine or the material, and it separated itself out. Now, the original water diagram you see above it is called the noon, or the great waters, the great universe. And the thought or the idea of the masculine is separate, that saw itself as separate, is called Ptah, as you can see in the lower diagram. Now, Ptah is just a thought, and the noon has still today has never gone away. It is still the dark force or the dark matter that 99% of the universe is made up of. Now, Ptah, as we see in the diagram, the separation is not actual. It's an idea. It's still an idea. Ptah is still a masculine idea inside of the noon. So even though we see these two diagrams as separate, they're still one, but the inherent thought inside of the noon or the one is still believes it's separate until the first act of creation, where Ptah decides that it's going to join with the noon and create a new particle, which is Atum. Atom, or the first atom. So the thought of Ptah rising up out, it goes, Ptah became the hill, or the thought, the idea rising up out of the noon, so that Atum could stand upon his shoulders as a separate particle, and then bang, or speak, bang, the big bang, start the vibration as the particle that I showed in the first beginning, start the vibration, start the resonance that started to create the physical universe. The Big Bang that actually separated itself out of the background material of the feminine and started to create what we are and what we see, which is the masculine. So if you know anything else, remember anything else about the masculine, there are two things you need to remember about the masculine. It's a creative thought, and the second thing is the light that shapes and creates the darkness or the feminine into the physical world. Now, I don't want to go too deep into esoteric wisdom because I don't want to lose people, because this is the initial block or the initial stepping stone. So I want to make it fairly simple. So this is the next diagram or picture that I use, and I've used it before. This is a sperm cell getting ready to fertilize an egg. It's a diagram. Now, if you look at it as above, so below, if you look at it compared to the egg, the sperm cell is immensely small. The egg is 100, maybe even hundreds of times bigger than this tiny sperm cell. Just as Ptah is the 1% and the universe is the 99%. But in opposition to it, Ptah, even though it's 99% smaller than the physical universe, than the feminine, the exact opposite is the case when it comes to energy and activity. Ptah has 99% of the energy and creative force, whereas the egg carries only 1%. Have you ever seen a live picture of a sperm cell? A sperm cell has to swim many, many miles compared to its size to get to fertilize an egg, whereas the egg does not move. gravity and the woman's body move the egg. The egg is immobile. It has no energy of its own. So Atum or Ptah has to come into the noon, which represents the egg, which the egg represents, and bring its life, creative force into the egg, fertilize it, and create life. The egg does not create life. The sperm cell creates life. In fact, there's a new discovery that I won't put on here. I might put a link to it, where they discovered that they can actually make an artificial egg out of other cells in the body, as long as they cut the long as they cut the DNA in half. They cut the DNA in half. They can make a egg cell out of anything. What carries the life, what carries the creative force is the sperm cells. If you introduce Ptah or introduce Ptah's helper, which is the sperm cells, it can create life out of any cell, any human cell. They did it with mice. I'm sure they tried it with humans, but they found out that if you fertilize this artificial egg with sperm cells, it will create the being that is supposed to create in a normal or animal that is supposed to create, and that animal can reproduce normally. It's 100% normal recreation. Even if you look at a picture of a fertilized egg after it's been fertilized, when Ptah hits the noon, or the sperm cell fertilizes the eggs, it creates a mini Big Bang, and it starts to do what? Divide and split and recreate itself. So what does that mean? It's something women don't like to hear a lot of times. And a lot of times that is because they don't know their role. Even though women can be creative, they can be imaginative, and all those things, that is considered a masculine trait. Activity, women can be active and bountiful, but that is a masculine trait. Creation is a masculine thing. And if you look at the diagram of yin and yang, where the yin, or the dark half, is receptive or feminine, and the light half is masculine, creative, and active. There is inherent in each, as I said below, that 1%, or that percentage, the minority of masculine and females, and a minority of feminine in males. And that will be talked about in a later episode. Like I said, I don't want to bog down too much of this in the initial video on this in this series. So if we understand that, if we accept that and understand that, what is it that identifies masculine, or identifies men, or the masculine inside men? First thing, that they have to be creative. That means they have to have a mission of creation, and they have to have a mission to create something, whether it's physical or non-physical. That is their prime directive. That is their reason for being. Not you, not their children, not anything else. Their mission and their purpose, which are intertwined together, is the prime driver of men, or it's supposed to be. And when that is not there, that man will become ineffective and become effeminate. If you want to make a man effeminate, you take away his creativity, his purpose, and you will have an effeminate man. You will have an unhappy man. A lot of women seek to put themselves in front or ahead of a man's mission and his purpose, instead of being the material that he works through. As Ptah worked through the noon, because his purpose and his mission, his purpose, was to create the physical world, as that sperm cell works through that egg. The sperm cell cannot accomplish his mission or his purpose without that egg cell. And he doesn't go around the egg cell or bypass the egg cell. he goes into that egg cell, into his vessel, and that will be another thing that will come up, because the egg is a vessel for the sperm cell, not vice versa. The purpose of the egg is to receive that sperm so that it can be a vessel or a vehicle for that sperm to create life through. You as a woman, and I teach this to men, are a vessel as a support so that his purpose and his mission can be created through you. Now it's up to you whether his mission and purpose are aligned with yours. If it's not, then you are the wrong vessel for him, and you're going to have a misalignment. You will not be able to fulfill your purpose because you don't have the light and the energy and the activity. You don't have your pata to actually give you that light and energy and that resonance so that you can procreate. Women do not create, they procreate. Pata atum. The man creates, the woman procreates. That if that sperm does not hit that egg, it does not breathe life, as it says in the Christian Bible, Yahweh formed man out of the dust, out of the material of the universe. But until he gave his essence, breathed life into that form, into that being, into that material, it was not a living soul. Your egg is a dead form. It's a dead cell until Ptah or Yahweh enters that cell and breathes life into it. Most women, I'm not saying all, most women are looking for the masculine to come along and breathe life into her vessel. The masculine, that's how come you see women, little girls, when they come into puberty, wear short shorts, cut off tops, and whatever that is, looking for male attention to come in and breathe life into her being, into her vessel. That is the masculine, breathing life into her psyche, into her soul, into her vessel. That is what the masculine is for. So it used to be up to the family, but it's up to women, because they have choice now, to find a man who's in alignment with the mission and purpose that she wants to get behind, so that he can breathe the right energy and the right life and the right creativity into her vessel so she can procreate. Say it again, so she can procreate and they can co-create their life, their family, whatever else that's within that mission and that purpose. But this one has gone a little bit long. I'm going to cut it off here. I'm sure there'll be another part coming. This is part one. I'm sure there's another part coming. We'll get deeper into this. This is just the introduction into the esoteric male or esoteric masculine essence. Give me feedback and see whether this resonated with you, because like I say, I am not a female. Never have been a female, never wanted to be a female, never thought about being a female. I love my male body. I love my male essence. I love my testosterone. And I love everything about being a man. So even though I understand the feminine, my anima is she talks to me all the time inside my head. I don't fully resonate with the feminine. It just is. So I'm going to depend on you women to give me feedback. What resonated with you, what didn't resonate with you. So with that, ladies, till next time, this is BGS out.